Hello, hello, hello. How are you? And welcome to Bemis Crafty Corner. And today I have a new project for us. We're going to be using some muslin. This can be bleached, unbleached. It's entirely up to you. But we're going to be using some muslin, and we're going to be using some paper tags. And this is the fun part. We're going to be using some stamps and dies, stamps and inks. But also, we're going to take a look at this. These are called iron-on fabric transfer patterns. Now, I got this one from one of my viewers who sent me a bunch of them. And you can get something very similar to this at Hobby Lobby. And I think you can even get them at Michael's. They come in a yellow envelope with the front on it. The front is white and it has they're called iron transfers, okay? And they are for painting with fabric paints, or in our case, you can use regular paint or even watercolor if you want to. So we're going to be doing a couple of different things here, and we're going to be doing some stamping, we're going to be doing some ironing, and we're going to be making some fabric tags, okay? So I'm going to get some stuff out of the way, and I'm going to get out some more supplies that we're going to need, and I'll be right back. All right, so obviously we're going to want stamps. We're going to want, if you want to use them, the iron-on fabric transfers. You're going to want stays-on if you are using stamps and a block that is going to be the right size for your stamps. You're going to want some tag bases. These can be cut out of anything. Leftover file folders, cardstock, whatever you want. Something to protect your work surface, and you're going to want some muslin. Now, as I said, this can be either bleached or unbleached. It's entirely up to you. You're also going to want a good fabric adhesive. We're going to use some Fabri-Tac today. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to glue these tags to the muslin because we can. So we're just going to put some Fabri-Tac on here. Now, this stuff does take a little bit longer to dry than normal glue. You could also use a spray adhesive if you have a fabric spray adhesive. I do recommend, if you're going to use that, though, that you do it outside and put down some masking tape or something, anything that you don't want to get the spray adhesive on, because it does tend to spread out. Okay, so we're going to put this on here, and then I'm going to use a brayer. You can use whatever you have. You just use your fingers or your bone folder, whatever. But we are going to put these down, and I'm going to be putting this one. See, this one's dirty, and so I'm going to use that side to put down, and that is going to give me the ability to use this tag that I otherwise wouldn't use, because it has, I would say that's Kung Pao chicken on it. Okay. Leaving a little bit of space here so that we can cut them out. And I'm going to put these on, and then we're going to let them dry. It'll take about 30 minutes or so for them to dry completely. So I'm going to disappear while these are drying, and you're not even going to know I'm gone. But, if you want to, you can always turn the video off for 30 minutes. He's over there trying not to make any noise because I just yelled at him. I didn't yell at him. I never yell at him. All right. So I'm going to let these dry. And then when they're dry, I'm going to come back, and we're going to move on to the next part. Just as a side note, if you should choose to do so, you can also use scraps. Oh, good Lord. You can also use scraps if you have leftover scraps of your heat and bond, where you heat up the piece onto, instead of, you can always do that. I got glue on there. You can always use your heat and bond as well, okay? If you don't want it to have like these wet gluey marks, then you could certainly use your heat and bond, all right? So we're gonna let these dry, and I'll be back in about 30, 45 minutes. Be right back. Okay, So here's a piece of advice for the people that are around you. These are paper scissors. These are fabric scissors. They may not look like this, but trust me, your crafter knows the difference. Okay, so now that we have these all glued down, we're going to go ahead and cut them out of our muslin and get them all trimmed up. Okay, so this one I'm going to cut kind of close to the tag. There we go. And this one, I'm going to cut it close to the tag, but I'm going to leave the bottom on it. This one, now, we're going to take some off the top. We're going to take off these two pieces here. We're going to leave the rest of it just the way it is. Okay. I'm going to get rid of this, and then we're going to take a look at these. All right. Or not get rid of that. So the first one, I like to fray the edges. There's a couple of ways that you can do this, but probably the easiest is just to take a needle and kind of wipe across it. And what you're going to do is pull out the thread that's there. It is time consuming. It is tedious, but it's fun. And we're only taking it out to the point where it's glued to the card. It really won't come out any more than that. So you'll have pieces like that where it's going to get a little stuck. Just trim them. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing at the bottom. And all we're going to do again is we're going to come this way. Now, depending upon where your piece is, this is kind of the selvage, which means it's a little bit thicker. So I'm going to trim the selvage off, and there we go. Now it'll come out. We're just letting it be a little weird. A little raggy. Okay? If you like that look, leave those strings on there for, you know, whatever works for you. We're going to do the other side as well. I have certain viewers right now, you know who you are, who are watching this going, oh, look at those strings. They're everywhere. I love it. And then there's some of you that are going, oh my God, is she going to clean that up? She's not really going to leave those frayed, is she? It's okay. All right. Kind of a little frayed here and there, kind of a little hanging out. Do they have to all be the perfect same size? No, they don't. All right, so that's the first one. On this one, all I'm going to do is just trim this little bit right here on the edge because it is the selvage, which means that's where they kind of double stitched everything. And then I'm just going to just yank all that thread out of there. Ow! Probably do a blood test right now. I just poked myself. And if you want this to be really long, just, put it further up when you glue it down. Okay, I just like a little bit, I have some of that red inside stuff coming out. Okay, there we go. That. And then this one is very clean into the edge, okay? So I'm going to clean this mess up. I'll be right back. Okay, so for this first one, we're going to do a little stamping on it. And I like it to have that kind of it's been handled look. So I'm going to go ahead and just ink it right over the fabric. Okay. And then I'm going to get out what I want to do this with. And I think, I think we'll do one of these little butterflies. No, let's do one of these. We're going to do one of these. All right, so I'm going to open this up. Now, these are Dollar Tree stamps because you don't have to have expensive stamps to do this stuff, guys. So we're going to pull this guy out of here. Just like any other stamp, we're going to lay it face down and let it sit for just a second, because when you pull it out, you're distorting it, because these are, they're rubber, Yes, I know acrylic, but it's still a form of rubber. And so I just want to let it sit there on my board for just a second before I pick it up. And then I'm going to bring, not the stamp to the block, I'm going to bring the block to the stamp. Okay? I'm going to press it down nice and firm. And now it is adhered to my block. And now we're going to be doing some inking on here. We're going to decide where we want this thing. And I'm thinking we're going to put it like right here, just like that, because we're going to put a little label on here, I think. So what I'm going to do is put this into my StazOn. I am not going to wiggle or rub. I'm going to press into the ink pad, making sure that I've got the whole thing well covered. And then I'm going to bring it over. Am I going to stamp directly on here? Nope. Bet you not. Ooh, I just made a whole bunch of mess down there. So what I'm going to get out is some of this. This is craft foam, and it's a couple of sheets of it. I've just put it together. And why? Because acrylic stamps do not have that foam that allows them to set. So when I'm using an acrylic stamp, I want to make sure that I give it a little something to sink into. Okay? Just, a little something to sink into. Now, another thing that you can do with a stamp is you can get one of these presses, and you can use that to put pressure across the whole thing. So if you have hands like mine, I have carpal tunnel syndrome. Do I make it stop me? No. I just adapt. So you adapt. All right. So now that we've pressed it on and we've given it a few seconds for the ink to actually absorb in, we're going to go ahead and lift that up. And you can see we have a pretty nice impression here of our stamp. All right. That's going to need to be cleaned up, but I'm not going to do it right this second. Okay. Okay. So we've let the ink really dry here. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to pop our hole. Okay. And then I'm going to use, you can put whatever you want in here. You could put, certainly you could use like an eyelet if you wanted to. Or you can use these paper, pieces. You could even use one of the decorated kind, like a flower shape or something. It just depends on what look you want. But I'm going to go ahead and put this on. And we're going to do a little bit of some coloring. These are alcohol ink, they're ink alcohol markers. So we're going to use these, and we're just going to trace in our lines that are our stems. Just add some color to the leaves. It doesn't have to be perfect, you know? Now, if you don't have alcohol pens, you could certainly do this portion with watercolor or, you know, even acrylic paints if you want to. However you want to do this. Entirely up to you. You could use fabric crayons. Those would be awesome. But you do, even if you're using the StazOn, you want to let it dry completely, okay? Otherwise, it will blend with your alcohol ink and it will make a huge mess. Now, you can use stickers, you can use fabric, you can use rub-ons, you can use anything you want. I'm going to be using a sticker on this one. Let me grab my do we even have them anymore? I don't know. Oh, they're here someplace. I believe that my tweezers have been eaten by my desk, officially. Well, fine. I'll just use a pair of forceps. Works just the same. I just want something to hold this while I'm putting on glue. Now, use fabric glue or any other kind of glue that works for you when you're using stickers on fabric, okay? And just let that dry. Now, we're going to take a look at doing one using these iron-on fabric transfers. So I'm going to get out the iron and the ironing board, my pressing board, and I'll be right back. All right, so we're going to go ahead and try one of these. So I've never used this brand. I'm not sure that it's going to work, but we're going to try it. So we're going to open this up, and we're going to grab a piece of this. We're just going to cut it out. So I kind of want to, you know, where's it going to fit? I think this is going to fit. So we're going to cut that out. Okay, we're going to cut this part off. We're certainly going to take this part off. Now we want to see how well this is going to fit. And I think it's going to fit pretty close to perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this with the fabric side down on here. Turn it over. And then we're going to use the hottest temperature that we can for the fabric. Always for the fabric, okay? So we're just checking to make sure that that is on there and that it's going to work, and then we're going to press it. and then we're going to peek. Starting to transfer. Now this can take a couple of minutes. Just a little bit more. Okay. Let's see where we are down here. That's pretty good. Now this can be used again, okay? At least a couple of times. So we're going to put this back over with the rest of it. And then I want to maybe add in one of maybe we'll add in one of these little butterflies. Here's these little ladybugs. Okay, I don't want the lines on either side, and I certainly don't want the circle. Go ahead and take that. I'm going to put it right there. And again, I'm going to heat it. Now this line is not permanent, okay? This line is basically like a template for you to draw. Okay, so now that it's on there, I'm going to let this cool for a second, and then when I come back, we are going to come in and we're going to be drawing this line on permanently. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so this is a great technique to use when you want it to look hand-drawn, but you can't draw. All right. Look, I know these things. I can't draw either. So there's a few pens here that we can use. We can use, of course, our microns. And you just pick, you know, what width you want as far as the lines. You could use one of these fine line Sharpies, if that works for you. Or you can use these Sarasa. These are fine liner pens, and you get these at the Dollar Tree, and I have to tell you, they're pretty damn good. All right, so I'm going to use this micron, and all I'm going to do is trace what I just ironed on. Does it have to be perfect? It doesn't. Okay. But if you're like me and your drawing skills are not the greatest, this is going to help you to get that kind of hand-drawn look without having to show that you have absolutely zero hand-drawing skills. Now, other than buying these preset pieces like this, there are pens that you can buy in the fabric store that are iron-on. So you could pick any design that you want, trace it, and create your own iron-on with it so that you can do all of this without having to use a preset design. Okay? we are going to finish drawing this up. And it doesn't take very long to do this. This is not very difficult. And the reason I'm using the microns is because if I use any of my like alcohol ink markers or something like that, I don't want it to run. And remember, this is hand drawing. You know, you're doing this by hand. You want it to look like hand drawing. So if it's a little crooked or a little wrinkly or whatever, it's okay. All right, and we're going to put our butterfly, our ladybug in. It could be a ladybug. I don't know. It might be a Mr. Bug. Most people say ladybug when it's really a guy. It's a Mr. Bug. Because the ladybugs are not red. Okay, we're going to do the tail in. And do the head in. Okay, so now I have that part done. Now I can come in with my colors and I can color this. So I'm going to get out my markers and I'll be right back. Okay, so once again, you can use fabric markers, fabric crayons, certainly could use fabric paint if you wanted. And now it's just a matter of really just coloring. And this is not something that you need to stress about. You know, just have some fun. Make it work the way you want it to. Let's see. I think something a little lighter than this. Okay. And we're just going to kind of color this the way that you want to color it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay? It just has to appeal to you. I'm going to go ahead and finish coloring this in. And I'm just blending in these two colors, 3 colors. And all I'm doing to do that is just going, I'm putting in the first color, and then I go back over that color with the second color, and then back over that color with this third color, so that I'm blending all of the colors together. And I'm always coming from the darkest to the lightest. Okay, so here's my dark color, that's my mid-range color, and then I'm going to go through it out to the end. Okay. All right, so we have those. And then we are going to do a little green work here. I think that our vine should be a little bit darker than our stem. Now, I will tell you this, and I did forget, but always test your alcohol markers on your fabric to make sure that they're not going to bleed on the fabric, because some of them do, as bad as that may be. I need, where did you go? Oh, you're way down in there. Hold on. It's way down in there. There it is. Oh, okay. All right, and then we're going to do this bottom leaf as well. Okay, so now that we have that part done, we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of glue on one of our rings here. Again, your choice. You could use the paper ring or you can use metal. It's entirely up to you. I'm going to use the paper ones. We're just put that over there. Push. And that's hand done. And it looks hand done. That's the point. Okay, I have a guide on there that I can see because I used the iron-on to put the lines in. But it looks hand done. Okay? Now, you can use a combination of these. And of course, there's always the ever popular rub-on. So I'll be back in just a second. All right, so the last tag, what we're going to do is we're going to use the rub-on. So I'm going to go ahead and poke the hole. Okay. Then I'm going to go ahead and put an eyelet in here. I want to use a big one. So let's see. This is going to be our image. So we're going to go ahead and put a large eyelet in. we go. I'm going to ink this one. No, it doesn't have to be inked in brown. You ink this in any color that you want, okay? Brown happens to be what's on my desk right now. Okay. And then we're going to peel this off of its backing. Oh, that was not good. No. Oh, okay, we're going to see if we can still work with this. Because it has rolled up. I don't think we're going to get that fixed. Well, it's only for demonstration purposes, right? Right. All right, popsicle stick, metal ball, whatever it is you use. Press that on. And then lift off the top piece. Careful, slow. You can see it folded over and adhered. Can we hide that? Sure, let's hide it. What shall we hide it with? I don't know. A word. Okay. Something. Okay. We have a word. And I have my tweezers. Good on 2 accounts. They were in there. I just had to grab them. All right. Glue. And it'll take a few minutes to dry. We're going to let all these dry, and then we're going to come back and take a look at the different ways that you can do these, okay? I'll be back in just a minute. All right, so that is 3 easy fabric textured tags that you can still write on. And we just have, this one was very simple. It is a stamp, and then we just colored that in and added a sticker. You can add anything that you want to that. This one is an iron-on piece, and it just gives us the outline. Then we go over the outline, and then we can color this in with markers or chalk or whatever it is we feel that we want to use to create this. It could be paint. Well, you certainly could have done embellishing powder, you know, embossing powder if you wanted to. There's a lot of different ways that you can do this. And of course, just using a simple rub-on. Okay. So 3 different ways that you can make a very simple fabric textured tag. And that's it. That's all I have for you today. So if you're new here, press the button. Why not, right? Hey, why don't you cyber stalk me? Go down to the description box, click on more, and get all of my cyber information down there. You can get my email address. You can get my Ko-Fi, my Patreon, my Facebook group, all of it. You can pick up a copy of my schedule. It's all down there. Until I see you again, stay well, my friends. Bye-bye.